For over 1,000 years, medieval castles stood as the ultimate symbols of power, wealth, and civilization across Europe, housing elaborate courts that functioned as self-contained cities where hundreds of people lived, worked, and died within towering stone walls. These weren't the sanitized fairy tale settings of our romantic imagination, but complex microcosms of medieval society where survival, status, and sanitation created the most unlikely social hierarchies. A single visiting noblewoman might arrive with an entourage of 200 followers, creating medieval traffic jams that could paralyze entire regions. Toilet facilities became architectural marvels, specifically designed to prevent enemy infiltration through waste chutes. And yes, people actually died falling into castle latrines. The real stories of castle life reveal universal truths about human nature, our endless capacity for adaptation, our complex relationship with power and hierarchy, and our ability to find dignity in even the most degrading circumstances. Let's journey back to these towering fortresses and uncover the shocking realities of 6 medieval castle professions that will completely shatter your assumptions about life behind those massive stone walls. Welcome to Folks of Yore. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a future video. Medieval castle ownership was far more dynamic than most people imagine. These noble figures weren't permanently stationed in their fortresses. They were essentially traveling executives of the medieval world, managing vast property portfolios across the kingdom. Consider the lifestyle of Countess Joan de Valence, whose story perfectly illustrates this nomadic nobility. This remarkable widow maintained 4 separate castles alongside numerous manor houses, constantly moving her household between properties. When she decided to visit Goodrich Castle in 1296, it wasn't a quiet arrival. Imagine the medieval equivalent of a presidential motorcade, complete with 50 horses, nearly 200 followers, and countless carts loaded with possessions. The architecture itself reflected their status and security concerns. Noble quarters occupied the most defensible sections of the castle, featuring private suites that included personal chapels and chambers for receiving important guests. These spaces were exclusive sanctuaries where only the most trusted individuals gained access. Perhaps most fascinating were the castle within a castle designs, essentially panic rooms on a grand scale. These self-contained fortresses could sustain the noble family even if the outer defenses fell, complete with their own kitchens, wine storage, and sleeping quarters. Medieval castle garrisons operated with remarkable efficiency despite varying dramatically in size based on current threats. During peaceful periods, a skeleton crew of perhaps a dozen soldiers maintained basic security operations, manning gates, operating defensive mechanisms, and conducting routine patrols against opportunistic raiders. The command structure centered around the constable or castellan, essentially the castle's military governor who represented the absent owner's authority. These weren't mere guards, but professional military administrators who maintained their own quarters and commanded respect throughout the fortress. When danger approached, the transformation was extraordinary. The 1216 siege of Dover Castle demonstrates this perfectly. What normally housed a modest garrison suddenly accommodated 140 knights and roughly 1,000 fully equipped sergeants, creating a formidable defensive force. Medieval warfare demanded versatility. Castle defenders mastered multiple weapon systems, from close combat tools like swords and battle axes, to ranged weapons, including the devastating longbow and precise crossbows. The castle's architecture supported this arsenal with specially designed arrow loops, narrow openings that protected archers while allowing accurate shooting. Perhaps most sobering was siege warfare's brutal reality. Extended blockades reduced defenders to consuming anything remotely edible. Horses, household pets, rodents, even leather goods became sustenance before surrender. While military codes discouraged executing surrendered enemies, desperate circumstances sometimes overruled these conventions. Castle servants represented far more than simple laborers. They formed an intricate social hierarchy that kept these massive stone fortresses functioning as living communities. When nobles were in residence, servant populations could swell dramatically, creating logistical challenges that would stump even modern event planners. Take Countess Joanne's household at Goodrich Castle, where nearly 100 servants somehow managed to coexist within the castle's relatively compact walls. This wasn't just about numbers, it was about orchestrating a complex medieval organization. The servant hierarchy began with elite positions reserved for noble children. Pages and damsels, essentially medieval boarding school students, learned courtly behavior while performing light duties. These privileged youth enjoyed feather beds, though sharing was mandatory. Medieval etiquette manuals guided their education with specific rules, proper nose-blowing techniques, appropriate spitting locations, and the rather colorful advice to beware thy hinder parts of guns blasting. Below them stretched a vast network of specialized workers, stewards managing household operations, butlers controlling beverage distribution, and countless others down to the grease-covered spit turners working over roaring fires. Despite challenging working conditions, 13-hour summer workdays starting at dawn, minimal vacation time, and basic accommodations wherever space allowed, castle service remained highly desirable employment. The compensation package included branded uniforms in noble colors, year-round meals, and access to leftover delicacies that far exceeded typical peasant fare. Medieval castle kitchens operated like high-pressure restaurants, but with far greater complexity and stakes. The culinary team at Goodrich Castle faced the monumental task of feeding up to 200 people twice daily, transforming raw ingredients into elaborate feasts that reflected their noble patrons' wealth and sophistication. Isaac of the Kitchen, Countess Joanne's head chef, managed an extraordinary menu that would perplex modern diners. His repertoire included exotic game bird like swans, peacocks, larks, and herrings, alongside more familiar proteins. This wasn't mere sustenance, it was edible theater designed to impress visiting dignitaries. Religious observance dramatically shaped medieval meal planning. Fish consumption spiked during Fridays and numerous feast days throughout the year. The logistics were staggering. Goodrich Castle consumed 24,000 herrings in just 3 months. Winter presented unique challenges that medieval cooks solved through ingenuity. Without refrigeration, preservation techniques became crucial. Cooks transformed mundane salted provisions into palatable dishes using expensive imported spices, each exotic ingredient serving as both flavor enhancement and status symbol. The baker maintained a parallel operation, producing everything from delicate white wheat rolls for noble tables to hearty peasant loaves crafted from barley, oats, and even legume combinations for servants and livestock. The kitchen environment resembled controlled chaos. Massive fireplaces roared constantly for spit roasting. Multiple ovens operated simultaneously, and enormous cauldrons bubbled with various preparations. Resource conservation was paramount. Cooking fats underwent multiple uses before transformation into candles, and nighttime security measures prevented servant pilferage of these valuable supplies. Medieval castle entertainment represented far more than simple amusement. It was sophisticated cultural programming that reflected noble prestige and social sophistication. During grand feasts, hosts orchestrated elaborate performances featuring minstrels, acrobats, and jugglers who transformed dining halls into theatrical spectacles. Edward II's 1306 knighting celebrations exemplify this entertainment scale, featuring hundreds of performers including the memorably named acrobat dancer Matilda Makejoy and the intriguingly titled Reginald the Liar. During long winter evenings, wandering musicians and storytellers, the original meaning of jester, could always secure hospitality by offering their services. However, professional court jesters occupied a completely different social category. These weren't mere entertainers, but strategic communication specialists employed full-time by powerful rulers. Henry II's court featured the colorfully named Roland the Musical Farter, whose annual Christmas performances earned him actual land grants, proving that medieval humor appreciation knew no bounds. The profession attracted individuals from various circumstances, some with genuine mental health challenges or physical differences that medieval society unfortunately found amusing. Despite these troubling aspects, successful jesters possessed exceptional intelligence and lightning-quick wit. Their costume typically featured bright, distinctive clothing, often hooded caps with donkey ears, but their true power lay in occupying unique social positions that permitted extraordinary freedoms. Master jesters could openly mock powerful nobles and even monarchs, delivering harsh truths through comedic packaging that would have meant execution for others. Consider Triboulet, the French king's fool, whose wit saved his life when sentenced to death. Given the choice of execution method, his response of old age demonstrated the verbal dexterity that made these performers invaluable political assets disguised as court entertainment. Meet the Gong Farmer, medieval society's most essential yet underappreciated profession. These sanitation specialists tackled one of humanity's most fundamental challenges: waste management in an era centuries before modern plumbing. Medieval toilet technology was surprisingly sophisticated despite its simplicity. Castle latrines featured stone or wooden seats with strategically placed holes, positioned to direct waste through carefully planned disposal systems. Architects carefully designed these facilities to project beyond exterior walls, allowing gravity to transport waste into moats, dedicated pits, or designated ground areas. Location placement revealed both practical engineering and defensive strategy. High wall positioning served dual purposes, elevating users above unpleasant odors, while preventing enemy infiltration through vulnerable openings. Noble quarters featured private facilities, while some castles offered communal multi-seat arrangements that doubled as informal social gathering spaces. Medieval health theory, though scientifically incorrect, drove important hygiene practices. The widespread belief that foul odors caused illnesses motivated communities to address waste accumulation, particularly in early castle designs where cesspits beneath main structures created unbearable living conditions. Enter the Gong Farmer, a specialized technician who performed the dangerous, nauseating task of cesspit maintenance. Using basic tools like shovels, baskets, and wheelbarrows, these professionals extracted accumulated waste for agricultural use as fertilizer, effectively recycling human waste into food production systems. The profession carried genuine occupational hazards, as demonstrated by the tragic 1325 death of Richard the Raker, who drowned after falling into a cesspit. This danger, combined with the job's universally unpleasant nature, commanded premium wages. However, social distancing was inevitable. Even well-compensated gong farmers found themselves socially isolated due to their unavoidable occupational aroma. And there you have it. Life in a medieval castle was far more complex and fascinating than you might have imagined. From the noble lords and ladies in their private apartments to the hardworking gong farmers keeping the castle sanitary. Every person had their part to play in this medieval community. Next time you visit a castle, you'll know exactly the type of person who lived there and what their daily lives were like. Thank you for joining us on this journey through medieval castle life. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss a future video. Until next time.